London, March 1985. Michael Caine walked through the bright corridors of Great Ormond Street Hospital, his footsteps echoing softly against the polished floors as he made his way toward the pediatric oncology ward. For what had become his quarterly tradition of visiting young patients who were fighting battles that no child should ever have to face. At 52, Michael had achieved remarkable success in his career, but these hospital visits reminded him of what truly mattered in life. Not the awards or recognition, but the courage and resilience that ordinary people displayed in extraordinary circumstances. But on this particular spring morning, he had no idea that he was about to meet an 8-year-old boy whose profound wisdom about life, death, and what it means to truly live would not only bring him to tears, but fundamentally change how he understood the purpose of his own existence and the responsibility that came with his fame and influence. Great Ormond Street Hospital had been caring for sick children since 1852, and by 1985 it had become one of the world's leading pediatric medical centers, particularly renowned for its treatment of childhood cancers. The hospital's reputation attracted patients from around the globe, but it also drew the attention of celebrities and philanthropists who wanted to support its mission and bring joy to young patients during their darkest hours. Michael had begun visiting the hospital in 1982 after receiving a letter from a young fan who was being treated there for leukemia. The boy, aged 7, had written to tell Michael that watching his films helped him forget about his illness for a while, and that he dreamed of meeting his favorite actor someday. Michael had been so moved by the letter that he had arranged to visit the boy personally, and that single visit had grown into a regular commitment that became one of the most meaningful aspects of his life outside of acting. These children are facing challenges that most adults couldn't handle, Michael often told friends who asked about his hospital visits. They're dealing with pain, fear, and uncertainty, but they do it with a courage and grace that humbles anyone who meets them. Spending time with them reminds me of what real strength looks like. The pediatric oncology ward at Great Ormond Street was designed to be as cheerful and normal as possible, with colorful decorations, play areas, and artwork created by former patients who had recovered and wanted to give back. But despite the efforts to create a positive environment, everyone who entered the ward understood that this was a place where children and families faced life and death battles on a daily basis. Nurse Sarah Collins met Michael at the ward entrance, as she had done for his previous visits. At 35, Sarah had been working with terminally ill children for over a decade, and she had developed both the professional skills and emotional resilience necessary to support families through their most difficult moments. "Good morning, Michael," Sarah said warmly. "We're so glad you're here. The children have been looking forward to your visit all week. How are things today?" Michael asked, genuinely concerned about the well-being of the young patients he had come to know and care about over the years. "We have some children who are doing very well, some who are struggling, and some who are," Sarah paused, choosing her words carefully, "some who are facing very difficult times with their families." Michael understood the euphemism. In a pediatric cancer ward, not every story had a happy ending, and part of his visits involved spending time with children who might not have many visits left. "There's someone special I'd like you to meet today," Sarah continued. "His name is Tommy Richardson. He's 8 years old, and he's been asking to meet you ever since he arrived here 6 weeks ago." They walked down the hallway, passing rooms where children of various ages were dealing with the reality of serious illness. Some were playing with toys or watching television, others were receiving treatment, and a few were simply resting with family members nearby. Each room represented a family's hopes, fears, and determination to fight for their child's life. "Tell me about Tommy," Michael said as they approached the boy's room. "Tommy has acute lymphoblastic leukemia," Sarah explained. "He's been through several rounds of chemotherapy, but the disease hasn't responded as well as we hoped. His doctors are exploring other treatment options." But she didn't need to finish the sentence. "How is he handling it?" Michael asked. "That's what's remarkable about Tommy," Sarah said, her voice filled with admiration. "He's one of the most mature and thoughtful children I've ever worked with. He seems to understand his situation better than most adults would, but he's not frightened or bitter. He's actually been counseling other children in the ward, helping them cope with their own fears." Michael was intrigued by this description of a child who could provide emotional support to others while facing his own mortality. They stopped outside Tommy's room, and Sarah knocked gently on the open door. "Tommy, your visitor is here." Michael entered the room and saw a small boy sitting up in bed, thin from months of treatment, but with bright, alert eyes that seemed to take in everything around him. Tommy's head was covered with a colorful baseball cap that concealed the hair loss from chemotherapy, and his face lit up with genuine excitement when he saw Michael. "You're really him," Tommy said, his voice weak but filled with wonder. "You're really Michael Caine." "I really am," Michael said, pulling a chair close to Tommy's bed and sitting down. "And you're really Tommy Richardson, the young man I've been hearing such good things about." Tommy beamed with pride at being recognized and acknowledged as an individual, rather than just another sick child. "I've seen all your movies," Tommy said enthusiastically. "Well, all the ones Mum says I'm old enough to watch. My favorite is The Italian Job. I love the part where you drive the buses through Turin." Michael was charmed by Tommy's enthusiasm and impressed by his detailed knowledge of the films. "That was a fun film to make," Michael said. "We actually drove those cars through the real streets of Turin. It was like playing a massive game." Tommy's eyes widened with excitement. "Was it scary driving so fast through the city?" "A little bit," Michael admitted, "but mostly it was exhilarating. The key to doing something that seems dangerous is to prepare carefully and trust the people you're working with." As they continued talking about films and acting, Michael was struck by Tommy's intelligence and curiosity. Despite his illness, the boy was engaged with the world around him, asking thoughtful questions and listening carefully to the answers. "Tommy," Michael said after they had been talking for about 20 minutes, "Nurse Sarah tells me that you've been helping other children here in the hospital. Can you tell me about that?" Tommy's expression became more serious, and he seemed to consider his words carefully before responding. "Some of the kids here are really scared," he said. "They're scared about the treatments, about being away from home, about whether they're going to get better. I try to talk to them about things that might help them not be so afraid." "What kinds of things do you tell them?" Michael asked, genuinely curious about how an 8-year-old approached such complex emotional challenges. "Well," Tommy said, thoughtfully, "I tell them that being scared is okay. Because everyone gets scared sometimes, even grown-ups. Even you probably get scared sometimes." Michael nodded, acknowledging the truth of Tommy's observation. "But I also tell them that being scared doesn't mean you can't be brave at the same time," Tommy continued. "My dad explained to me that courage isn't about not being afraid, it's about doing what you need to do even when you are afraid." Michael was amazed by the sophistication of Tommy's understanding of courage and fear. "That's very wise," Michael said. "What else do you tell the other children?" Tommy was quiet for a moment, clearly thinking carefully about his response. "I tell them that even if something bad happens to us, we can still make good things happen for other people while we're here," he said. "Like even if I don't get better, I can still help other kids feel less scared, or make my parents feel proud of me, or show the doctors and nurses that I appreciate everything they're doing." Michael felt a tightness in his chest as he absorbed the profound wisdom in Tommy's words. "Tommy," he said gently, "do you think about what might happen if the treatments don't work?" Tommy looked directly at Michael with eyes that seemed much older than his 8 years. "You mean, do I think about dying?" he asked matter-of-factly. Michael nodded, surprised by Tommy's directness in discussing such a difficult topic. "I think about it sometimes," Tommy said calmly. "At first it made me really scared and sad. But then I started thinking about what dying actually means, and I realized that I don't think it's as scary as everyone makes it seem." Michael was stunned by Tommy's composure in discussing his own mortality. "Can you tell me what you mean?" he asked. "Well," Tommy said, settling back against his pillows as if preparing to share something he had thought about extensively, "everyone talks about dying like it's the worst thing that could happen to someone. But I don't think that's true." Tommy paused, organizing his thoughts. "I think the worst thing that could happen to someone would be to live their whole life without ever making anyone else happy, or without ever doing anything that mattered. Dying isn't the worst thing, wasting your life is the worst thing." Michael felt tears beginning to form in his eyes as he listened to this 8-year-old boy articulate a philosophy of life that was more mature and profound than anything he had heard from most adults. "When I think about dying," Tommy continued, "I don't think about it as everything ending. I think about it as, like when you finish reading a really good book. The book doesn't disappear just because you finished reading it. All the good parts, all the parts that made you laugh or think or feel something important, those parts stay with you forever." Michael was struggling to maintain his composure as Tommy's words hit him with unexpected emotional force. "I think people are like books," Tommy said. "When someone dies, their story doesn't just disappear. All the good things they did, all the people they helped, all the love they shared, that stays in the world. That becomes part of other people's stories." Tommy looked directly at Michael with remarkable clarity and confidence. So even if I die, all the times I helped other kids feel less scared, all the times I made my parents laugh, all the times I told the nurses thank you for taking care of me, those things don't die. Those things become part of everyone else's story, and they keep going. Michael felt tears streaming down his face as he absorbed the profound wisdom of Tommy's perspective on life and death. "Tommy," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "that's the most beautiful thing I've ever heard anyone say about what it means to live and to die." Tommy smiled, pleased that he had been able to share something meaningful with someone he admired. "My mom taught me that," he said. "She told me that the most important question isn't how long you live, but what you do with the time you have. And she taught me that love is the only thing that never really dies. Because every time someone loves someone else, that love becomes part of the world forever." Michael was overwhelmed by the combination of Tommy's wisdom and the obvious love and guidance he had received from his family. "Can I ask you something, Tommy?" Michael said. "Of course. If you could do anything in the world, anything at all, what would you want to do?" Tommy thought about the question seriously before answering. "I would want to make a video that other kids could watch when they're scared about being sick," he said. "A video that would help them understand that being brave doesn't mean not being afraid, and that even if something bad happens to them, they can still do good things for other people." Michael felt a surge of purpose and determination as Tommy shared his dream. "Tommy," he said, "I think that's a wonderful idea, and I think it's something we could actually do together if you'd like." Tommy's eyes widened with excitement and hope. "Really? You would help me make a video?" "I would be honored to help you," Michael said. "We could work with the hospital to create something that would help children all over the world who are facing what you're facing." Over the next several weeks, Michael returned to the hospital multiple times to work with Tommy on creating a video that would share the 8-year-old's insights about courage, fear, and finding meaning in difficult circumstances. Despite his weakening condition, Tommy threw himself into the project with enthusiasm and determination. The video they created together featured Tommy talking directly to the camera about his experiences in the hospital, his thoughts about courage and fear, and his belief that everyone could find ways to make a positive difference in the world, regardless of their circumstances. Michael served as interviewer and editor, helping Tommy articulate his thoughts clearly while preserving the authentic voice and wisdom of a child who had learned profound lessons about life through his confrontation with mortality. "Hi, my name is Tommy and I'm 8 years old," the video began, with Tommy sitting up in his hospital bed, wearing his favorite baseball cap and speaking directly to the camera with remarkable confidence. "I'm making this video because I know there are other kids out there who might be scared about being sick, and I want to tell them some things that might help them feel less afraid." The video went on to feature Tommy sharing the insights he had developed about courage, the importance of helping others, and his unique perspective on death and the meaning of life. "Being brave doesn't mean you're not scared," Tommy explained to the camera. "It means you do what you need to do even when you are scared. And one of the most important things you can do when you're scared is to help other people who are scared too." The project gave Tommy a sense of purpose and accomplishment during his final weeks, and it created a lasting legacy that would continue to provide comfort and inspiration to children facing similar challenges long after Tommy was gone. Tommy Richardson died peacefully on May 15, 1985, surrounded by his family and with Michael holding his hand. In his final moments, he was alert and calm, telling his parents that he loved them and asking Michael to make sure the video would reach children who needed to hear his message. "Promise me the video will help other kids," Tommy whispered to Michael as his strength faded. "I promise," Michael said, tears flowing freely. "Your message will help children all over the world." The video, titled Tommy's Message, a letter to brave kids everywhere, became one of the most powerful pieces of patient education material ever created for children facing serious illness. It was distributed to hospitals throughout the world and translated into dozens of languages, reaching thousands of children and families who found comfort and strength in Tommy's wisdom. But the impact of Tommy's message extended far beyond the hospital walls. For Michael, the experience of working with Tommy fundamentally changed his understanding of what it meant to use his fame and influence for meaningful purposes. "Tommy taught me that the most important question isn't what you achieve for yourself," Michael reflected years later, "but what you do to help other people, especially people who are facing challenges that seem impossible to overcome." This realization led Michael to establish the Tommy Richardson Foundation, which supports programs that help children and families cope with serious illness. The foundation funds research into childhood diseases, provides financial assistance to families dealing with medical expenses, and creates educational materials that help children understand and cope with illness and treatment. Michael also became much more selective about his film roles, gravitating toward projects that explored themes of resilience, courage, and the ways that ordinary people could make extraordinary differences in the lives of others. After working with Tommy, I realized that every story I choose to tell is an opportunity to share something meaningful with audiences. Michael explained. I want to choose stories that honor the kind of wisdom and courage that Tommy demonstrated. The experience also influenced Michael's approach to his public appearances and interviews. He began speaking more openly about the importance of supporting children's charities, medical research, and programs that help families dealing with serious illness. Tommy was 8 years old, but he understood things about life and death that most adults never figure out. Michael said in interviews about the foundation, "He taught me that the meaning of life isn't found in what happens to us, but in how we respond to what happens to us, and how we use our experiences to help other people." 20 years after Tommy's death, Great Ormond Street Hospital opened the Tommy Richardson Wing, a new facility for pediatric oncology that was funded by the foundation Michael had established in the boy's honor. The wing features state-of-the-art medical equipment, family support services, and play therapy programs that help children cope with their illness through creative expression and peer support. At the dedication ceremony, Michael spoke about the lasting impact that Tommy had made on his life and on the lives of countless children and families who had been helped by programs funded in Tommy's memory. Tommy Richardson lived for only 8 years. Michael said to the assembled crowd, but in those 8 years, he learned and shared wisdom about courage, compassion, and the meaning of life that continues to inspire people around the world. He proved that the length of someone's life is less important than the depth of their impact on others. Michael also revealed that he carried a photograph of Tommy with him wherever he traveled, and that he thought of the boy's lessons about courage and purpose whenever he faced his own challenges or uncertainties. "Tommy taught me that being brave isn't about not being afraid," Michael said. "It's about doing what needs to be done, helping who needs to be helped, and using whatever gifts you have to make the world a little bit better, even when you're facing your own fears and uncertainties." The video that Michael and Tommy had created together continued to be used by hospitals and medical centers around the world, helping thousands of children find courage and hope during their own battles with serious illness. In 2005, on the 20th anniversary of Tommy's death, Michael returned to Great Ormond Street Hospital to visit with current patients and to screen the video for a new generation of children who were facing the same challenges that Tommy had faced with such remarkable grace and wisdom. Watching that video with today's patients, Michael said afterward, "I was reminded once again that Tommy's message is timeless. Children still need to hear that they can be brave even when they're scared, that they can help others even when they need help themselves, and that their lives have meaning and purpose regardless of how long they last." Today, the Tommy Richardson Foundation continues to support children's medical research and family support programs around the world. The foundation has funded breakthrough research into childhood cancers, provided financial assistance to thousands of families, and created educational materials that help children and parents navigate the complex emotional challenges that come with serious illness. But perhaps the most important legacy of Tommy Richardson's brief life is the lesson he taught about finding meaning and purpose in the face of mortality, and about the profound impact that one person's courage and compassion can have on the lives of others. When Michael Caine met the 8-year-old boy at Great Ormond Street Hospital, he thought he was simply fulfilling his commitment to visit young patients and bring them a moment of joy during their treatment. Instead, he encountered a teacher whose wisdom about life, death, and the importance of using whatever time we have to help others would transform his understanding of what it means to live with purpose and leave a lasting legacy. Tommy's message, that courage isn't the absence of fear, but the decision to do what matters even when we're afraid, and that love and kindness never really die because they become part of everyone they touch, continues to inspire people around the world who are facing their own challenges and searching for meaning in difficult circumstances. The 8-year-old boy who spoke so eloquently about death and the meaning of life didn't live to see his 9th birthday, but his wisdom and courage created a legacy that has touched thousands of lives and will continue to provide comfort and inspiration for generations to come. But the impact of Tommy's brief life extended far beyond the foundation and programs established in his memory. The experience of working with Tommy fundamentally altered Michael's understanding of what it meant to be successful and what responsibilities came with fame and fortune. "Before I met Tommy," Michael reflected in a 2010 interview, "I thought success meant achieving your goals and being recognized for your work. Tommy taught me that real success means using whatever gifts you have to help other people, especially people who are facing challenges that seem impossible to overcome. This philosophical shift influenced every aspect of Michael's subsequent career. He began turning down lucrative film projects that didn't align with his values, instead choosing roles that explored themes of courage, resilience, and human dignity. I started asking myself before accepting any role, would Tommy be proud of this story? Does this film say something meaningful about the human experience? Will audiences leave the theater feeling more hopeful about their own ability to face challenges with courage? This new criteria led to some of Michael's most acclaimed performances, including his roles in Little Voice, where he played a character struggling to find redemption and meaning in his life, and The Cider House Rules, where his character demonstrated how wisdom and moral authority could exist independently of formal education or social status. Directors and fellow actors began to notice a new depth and intentionality in Michael's work that went beyond technical skill or natural charisma. Something fundamental changed in Michael's approach to acting after the mid-1980s, observed director Lasse Hallström, who worked with Michael on several films. He brought a sense of purpose to every role, as if he understood that each performance was an opportunity to share something meaningful about the human experience. The influence of Tommy's wisdom also affected Michael's personal relationships and his approach to family life. He became more present with his own children, more conscious of creating memories and sharing values that would last beyond his lifetime. Tommy helped me understand that being a father isn't just about providing for your children financially, Michael said. It's about sharing with them the lessons you've learned about courage, kindness, and what really matters in life. Michael's daughter Natasha later credited her father's relationship with Tommy as a formative influence on their family's values and priorities. After Dad met Tommy, our family conversations changed, she said in a 2015 interview. Dad started talking more about what we could do to help other people, about the importance of being brave when facing difficulties, and about how to find meaning in both good times and challenging times. The video that Michael and Tommy had created together became a catalyst for broader changes in how hospitals approached patient education and emotional support. Medical centers around the world began developing similar programs that used peer-to-peer communication to help children cope with serious illness. Tommy's video demonstrated that sometimes the most effective counselors for sick children are other sick children, explained Dr. Sarah Williams, Chief of Pediatric Psychology at Great Ormond Street Hospital. Tommy's ability to articulate complex ideas about courage and meaning in language that other children could understand became a model for patient support programs. The success of Tommy's message also influenced medical training programs, which began incorporating lessons about learning from patients, especially young patients who often demonstrated remarkable resilience and wisdom in the face of adversity. Tommy taught us that healing involves more than just medical treatment, said Dr. Michael Roberts, who had been part of Tommy's medical team. It involves helping patients and families find meaning, hope, and purpose even in the most difficult circumstances. The annual Tommy Richardson Memorial Lecture at Great Ormond Street Hospital became one of the most prestigious events in pediatric medicine, attracting speakers and audiences from around the world who wanted to explore the intersection of medical treatment and emotional healing. Michael delivered the inaugural lecture in 1986, 1 year after Tommy's death, and he returned as a speaker every 5 years to reflect on how Tommy's lessons continued to influence his life and work. Tommy's wisdom wasn't complicated or abstract, Michael said in his 2005 lecture. He understood that life is precious, not because it lasts forever, but because it gives us opportunities to love other people and to help them feel less afraid. That's a lesson that every adult needs to remember. The lecture series attracted medical professionals, educators, philosophers, and ethicists who were interested in exploring what children facing serious illness could teach adults about resilience, courage, and finding meaning in difficult circumstances. Tommy's influence also extended into Michael's philanthropic activities beyond the foundation established in the boy's memory. Michael became a major supporter of children's hospitals, medical research programs, and educational initiatives that helped young people develop emotional intelligence and coping skills. Tommy showed me that children are capable of profound wisdom when they're given the opportunity to share their thoughts and feelings, Michael explained. Supporting programs that listen to children and take their insights seriously became a priority for me. This commitment led to Michael funding scholarship programs for young people pursuing careers in child psychology, pediatric medicine, and education. The scholarship specifically supported students who demonstrated not just academic ability, but also emotional maturity and a genuine commitment to helping others. The impact of Tommy's story also influenced popular culture and media representations of childhood illness. Tommy's video became a reference point for filmmakers and writers who wanted to portray seriously ill children with dignity and authenticity. 25 years after Tommy's death, medical researchers studying childhood resilience began examining Tommy's video to better understand how children develop coping mechanisms when facing life-threatening illness. Tommy's ability to articulate a philosophy about life and death at age 8 provides valuable insights into how children process existential challenges, explained Dr. Jennifer Martinez, a researcher studying pediatric psychology. The ongoing influence of Tommy's wisdom also affected how Michael approached aging and his own mortality. As he entered his 70s and 80s, Michael frequently referenced Tommy's insights about death being like finishing a good book. "Tommy taught me not to be afraid of getting older or even of dying," Michael said in a 2017 interview. "He helped me understand that the important question isn't how long you live, but whether you use the time you have to create something meaningful." Today, the Tommy Richardson Foundation has expanded into an international organization that supports children's medical research and family assistance programs. The foundation's work has contributed to breakthrough treatments for childhood cancers and provided support to thousands of families dealing with serious illness. But beyond the measurable impact of programs and funding, Tommy's greatest legacy remains the simple but profound lesson he shared with Michael: that true courage means doing what matters even when you're afraid, that love and kindness never really die because they become part of everyone they touch, and that the meaning of life is found not in what happens to us, but in how we use our experiences to help other people. The 8-year-old boy, who faced his own mortality with such remarkable wisdom, created a legacy that continues to inspire people around the world to live with more purpose, face challenges with greater courage, and understand that even the briefest lives can have profound impact when lived with love, compassion, and dedication to helping others.